Thanks for having me.
Sounds like Donald Trump was right again, as maybe some of these Haitian migrants are either heading to bigger cities to hide, as you heard in that report, or they're self-deporting and getting out of the country. And so there is a problem here that Donald Trump and his running mate talked about, and the media laughed it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in this country illegally, you will be deported. And Donald Trump has been expressly clear about this. And we are going to get back to the basics of following the law and enforcing the law. So for folks that are in the country, and that goes for the almost 12 million that have been admitted into the country, catch and release. I don't care what the Biden administration wants to call it these days. It's catch and release into our communities. You will be deported. For all of those families that have sacrificed, have saved, and waited years to come into the United States legally, they are going to get priority, not someone who has committed a crime by entering the country illegally, paying a cartel to get here. So I think that this is going to be a situation where a lot of these sanctuary type cities are going to try to subvert federal law. And as we know, Donald Trump, he will not play that game. And if they want their federal funding, they're going to actually have a real wake up call when they realize that sanctuary cities are a thing of the past. Yeah. No more BS. This ends when Donald Trump assumes office come January 20th.
No more BS. It sounds like the approach on a whole lot of issues. What's your advice to the incoming administration about dealing with what the media is going to try to do, what the left in this country will try to do, and exploit the idea that Mr. Trump wants to use the military, at least military assets, as support for law enforcement to get criminals, for example, criminal illegal immigrants out of the country?
Listen, he's been very, very clear that we're targeting those that are here in the country illegally that are criminals. We know that there are rapists, that there are gang members, people who are committing crimes. Look no further than the ongoing trial of Laken Riley, where that has been a horrific front page of the newspaper reminder of the dangers of the illegal immigration that is taking place. We need to be fully focused on this mandate from the American people. They want safe cities, safe communities. And we know that the crime increase that has occurred as a result of the open borders, courtesy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they are absolutely dangerous. So we need to have a no-nonsense approach. We all remember the famous, or infamous, I should say, images of AOC crying in an empty parking lot. No one wanted to acknowledge the reality that it was actually Obama who had done the separation of families. Yeah. And we're going to have the virtue signaling, the woe is me. We can no longer play that game. Our country is at stake. We need to take action, and it needs to be unequivocal and firm.
Absolutely. Speaking of reality, the president-elect also talked during the campaign about FEMA not helping Trump allies and whatnot. And our audience is familiar with you being a very strong presence at some high-profile congressional hearings over the last couple of years, trying to hold the Biden-Harris administration to account. Today, the FEMA administrator, was called to the carpet. Let's watch a clip and talk about it.
There is nothing in our policies, in our procedures, in our training that would direct any employee to bypass anybody's home based on their political party. I cannot speak to what her motivations were, but this came to my attention again on November 7th. I directed my team to get me information. They gave me factual information on November 9th, which is when I directed the termination of this employee.
And that employee she's talking about has come on Newsmax and other places and said, look, this is what I was told to do. I've been the fall woman, if you will, she has said, because they, in fact, were passing homes that had Trump van signs, as you know, after these hurricanes. And so Donald Trump was right. You were right. And yet the FEMA administrator, she seemed to get away with it again. Oh, we don't have a policy on this. Your reaction?
No, I mean, every time these bureaucrats come before our committees, they are well prepared and trained to basically run out the clock. Every member who's asking questions gets 5 minutes. And every time they have to answer a question, you notice she's speaking slowly. She's forgetting to turn on her microphone. It's because they don't actually want to answer the questions. But we know that this is a situation where they've been caught. And this is not just an issue within FEMA. This is across the board in multiple agencies. Does anyone else find it odd that in some of the most read Trump districts around the country, those federal assets have just simply not shown up. Talk about the $47 billion that was supposed to connect rural America to affordable, high-speed, reliable internet, and yet not one person was connected to internet. And here we are, 3 storms in my district later, 3 major presidentially declared disasters, and still people who have lost their homes and their livelihood are being denied. It couldn't have anything to do possibly with the fact that my district is a Trump district, or that many of the homes that disappeared had Trump signs or Trump flags on the property. Certainly not. This is indicative, again, that the Biden administration thinks that we're all a bunch of idiots and they've treated us as such. So I think that this is just one example that is going to start pulling the thread of all of the instances of discrimination and retaliation against Trump supporters.
Last thing, speaking of discrimination, you have Democrats and the media working together and saying you and Congresswoman Nancy Mace and other females and other men, by the way, in Congress, Republicans, have introduced this bill that would ban transgender lawmakers and others who are transgender from using female bathrooms. There's now a transgender Democrat in Congress, as you know. And the media is lashing out and asking Congresswoman Mace, well, how are you going to check what their body is, I guess, or whatever, before they go in the bathroom? It seems to me there should be respect paid to women like yourself. And if you're actually a man who's trying to be a woman now, you should not go into a woman's restroom. This should be simple, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. Unequivocally, it should be the simplest and easiest thing for Republicans and Democrats to agree on, that men are men and women are women, and that no man should ever be allowed in women's spaces. Full stop. That should not be a controversial statement. But thank goodness every member of Congress has their own private bathroom, so this shouldn't be a distraction for very much longer from the issues like, I don't know, saving our country from the brink of disaster. I am very, very concerned that the backlash that Representative Mace has received up until the point of death threats is indicative that these individuals are more focused on the virtue signaling and putting the threats on bullying women, biological women, for not allowing a biological man in their spaces. It's ridiculous. So I think we need to keep speaking out about this. But again, every member has their own bathroom. So we should at least be able to get focused right back onto the issue of, I don't know, cutting government spending and securing our border and protecting our nation for the next 150 years plus.
Yeah, inflation, Iran, those big issues. You make such an important point. Congresswoman, we appreciate you coming in tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.